Welcome to DeMolay and Dad, the second episode, Brainrot. Came up with that one on the fly. Thank you for your comment suggestions and your very, very positive comments in the last episode. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much. And there you go.
Hi.
Hello there.
It's the day before Christmas.
It is the day before. We thought it would be fitting to do it the day before Christmas since, we're in the jolly season.
It is jolly.
Obviously.
Bah humbug.
Get a close up on that one. Oh yeah.
So we're doing this one on the fly. We put a lot of thought into like the whole conversation around social. We have no thought into this one.
Yeah, we were about to record, and we looked at the comments. I was like, we had a word technically. We had a word, and I still put no thought into that one. And we looked today. I was like, I want to do one final check just in case someone give us an actual word suggestion. Lo and behold, word suggestion: brainrot. Trindon Hayden. Correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. In the comments below. Again, thank you so much for your comment suggestion. Looking forward to other people's comment suggestions in this episode. So brain rot. What is? I'm gonna ask this again because we did in the last episode. Just to lay it out. What do you think brain rotting, if it had to be put in the Urban Dictionary, how would it be like laid out?
Man, it's hard not to have long pauses in this when you're trying to think on the fly. Things that cause for you to use your brain less.
Is like the short form content you guys scrolling your phone.
Yeah.
It's like the first thing that comes to mind for me when people talk about brain rot. Your brain is rotting. Basically, like it for me, it's like it dies down your attention span. Okay, you're less focused in different things. It like makes you hard. It makes it harder for you to focus and learn things after watching something.
I don't think it for me. I don't think it is so much less focus. It's literally less thought into it. So it makes me think of a hip hop artist I used to watch all the time, and his name was Atmosphere, and he was from Chicago. And one of the things about his music was he never just outright said anything. Everything he said alluded to something else. So well, the thing that comes to mind immediately is he had a verse and there's like nosy as the owl sings. And you hear that, but then what's an owl say?
Oh.
No, who?
Oh yeah.
And so like instead of just saying the word who, he had to do this whole thing to where you actually had to think about it. And to me, brain rot is less of that.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, it's like people spoon feeding you things.
Spaghetti is delicious.
Yes. It's giving, not letting you think about it. And so the brain's like a muscle.
So what if you had to think of something in your generation? Because I can think of 100 things in my generation that I want to forget about brain rot. What in your generation would you consider brain rot? Like if you had to pick a certain topic or something.
When I was a kid, they always told you video games would rot your brains. I mean, that was literally the catchphrase. And then they of course had the classic commercials of like, this is your brain on. They showed like the scrambling egg.
I mean, the brain rot about gaming thing. I think it's less it rots your brain and more it allows your brain to turn off, like consciously, because you're just trying to play. I mean, if it's like a strategy game, you're not playing Plants vs Zombies. You're gonna like, I gotta do this so I can do this. But like, if you're just playing like a fighting game, you could just the controls. You can just play and have fun.
No, this is gonna sound weird, but I disagree. I think video games, depending on the game, but I think it has its downsides. I'm a huge fan of everything in moderation, but I'm actually a fan of gaming. because it does, like, you can play games like, Prince of Persia, and then like today you have like Assassin's Creed, to where it's like you actually have to think through, it's actually got puzzles. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. I know there's a lot of games out there that take a lot of time and effort for people to do things.
Start playing Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Especially the time aspect in that game.
Um, the I'm shooting myself in the foot here. I think when it comes to brain rot, a lot of it comes down to, I think, um, some of the mindless videos that you have on YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. I think that creates a lot of brain rot. And that's, but same thing, binging, like binge watching anything. Like I think the like streaming services like Netflix and Hulu have lended themselves to people really being able to turn off their brain, because like you don't sit down and watch TV for 30 minutes and then go do something anymore. Like you sit down and you watch the entire season because it was released all at one time. And it's I know people that streamed all of Game of Thrones or whatever, what is it, 40, 50 hours later they emerged from the darkness.
Cocoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad. Now I know what I'm working with here when it comes to with your generation. So I'm sure a lot of, because I know in the last episode I got, because I told my friends, obviously, I'm like, I made a cool video, and they made fun of me for it because they're my friends, and they always made fun of me because I was with someone who they thought didn't understand the internet nowadays, which is obviously not true. However, there's one thing I thought I hid for you intentionally, and that is actual, genuine brain rot of the internet. Think things that it's not even things that you don't learn anything. You don't learn anything, it has nothing behind it. It's not spoon feeding. It's just showing you. It has nothing to it. Now comes things like Skibbity Toilet. You have the awful dark side of the internet that everyone has to live with these days. That's where you get the TikTok, like that's why. So that's why some people think TikTok's bad for you, which I think it is because there's some stupid people on there. But I think there's some really good ones too. Like there's some good TikToks, like Vsauce is on there. I'm a really big fan of Vsauce. Shout out Vsauce. Uh, but then you have, like I said, stuff like Skibbity Toilet, which it's literally a head in a toilet. 70 episodes of that. 70. 20 million subscribers. Hundreds of millions of views. They profit off of that. A 3D animation of a head in a toilet. Now it's gone. It was a head in a toilet. Now there's stuff like a cult in it. There's a kaiju level. I don't even know. That's brain rot. Just in my generation, okay? But that is like the quintessential brain rot. There's like stuff where it's like, oh, you just turn your brain off to it. Like there are games like that. Like, but
Well,
that's
we had the same thing when I was younger. I mean, like when I was when I was a teenager, you want to talk about brain rot, like the first instance of brain rot where like people, like I think my parents were literally scratched their head like, why? But you have I mean, you got the classic like Beavis and Butthead, but like one of my favorite, what honestly I still love this cartoon to this day, but you have Ren and Stimpy. And it was like the most random things, but I don't think it's necessarily bad to turn your brain off every now and then. I think I think of brain rot as more of like mental atrophy. You know what I mean? Like it's not bad to turn your brain off every now and then. Like sometimes it's nice to be able to like kick back and just kind of be on autopilot for a little bit, because especially after, if after a stressful day or something like that. It's when you do it repeatedly and often. Again, your brain is another muscle, and so it's like every other muscle. Like if you don't ever use it, you lose the use of it. um and I mean that to me, that's where I start going with it in when you start thinking of actual like brain rot.
Yeah, I agree. Cartoons in some way are brain rot to most people because again, it's just some like my favorite cartoon ever, The Amazing World of Gumball. Okay, some parents ban it from their children because it's the most random, inexplicably awesome things to happen in any episode. Okay, so you have like cameos of like different shows in it, but then you have a banana, just live banana in front of all these cartoons. It's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's just a real life thing. It's like the opposite, a real life thing in a cartoon world. It's random, and again, I feel like that's some sort of brain rot. But you have to think here, like I said, head and toilet. There's nothing. I hate repeating myself, but there's nothing behind that. There's no essence to it. Someone makes thousands of dollars by
You know
that.
what? I mean, people made millions of dollars off the pet rock. It's not the. Do you even know what the pet rock is?
No.
Somebody actually sold at one point in time these little rocks. You could order them in the mail, and they would send it to you. You could buy a rock,
With
and it
Google
was
Eyes.
your pet rock.
Like,
It was just a
rock.
rock.
It was just right. No
It
Google Eyes.
no,
Rip off.
yeah, just it was just a rock. It
It
said
becomes alive when you put organs or like live things on it.
that's just weird. That's just in what is it? I can't remember what it's called when something almost looks human.
Oh, the Uncanny Valley.
Eh.
It's like the thing where it's like
Oh yeah, yeah,
it
yeah. That
becomes
is the
yeah.
uncanny valley. But yeah, you can start putting eyeballs on random things.
Like we
It's
see those like AI robot things where like it looks human, but it's not.
nothing's better than uh shout out to the Y files. Nothing's better than hecklefish, like the fish with
I
the
love
teeth.
that.
I know. Like it took me forever to figure out like what's wrong with that. And then it was like, wait, he has teeth. That's what's wrong with that.
And he has a tongue.
Oh yeah, that's weird. But
Yep.
there's something behind that. But I mean, like I said, there's it's not. I don't smite anybody for making money. Like I said, people made millions of dollars off of pet rock. Good bully for them, um, but when you think about it, it's what are you trying to do? If you're trying to entertain people and you actually entertain them, then you did exactly what you were trying to do, and cool. Um, it's when you're prying. I don't know when you're playing off of people's desire to be brain dead. I think that's when it starts getting stuff where,
That's
um,
not right.
well, when you were growing up, for the longest time, I had a rule that you couldn't watch YouTube unless it was educational, and that wasn't not because I didn't watch uneducational videos. It was because of moderation. Again, there's nothing wrong with turning your brain off. It's when you turn your brain off for extended periods of time and often.
Yeah. I think that I love that parenting tip. Before I hated it, like you know, watch my YouTube videos. Uh, and before I thought it was some stupid reason like, why don't you just go play the game that they were doing? Number one, it costs money. Number two, I see so many skits about this. I was like, why don't you play the game like, instead of watching it and then they go watch sports? Like same thing, same premise. But like it's not the reason I see now. It's more it's like you said, it's because of moderation. Because when you're a child, you just want to do the thing that makes you feel positive. The the serotonin, the dopamine that you get from just watching somebody. I head in the toilet apparently. I hate bringing that
I
up.
want to call that out though. I mean, that's you just said something I'd never really thought about. I've sat around with other parents and joked around of like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, why would you sit and watch someone else play video games on YouTube? And then because I don't watch a lot of sports, and so then you just call that out, and I'm like, that actually makes complete sense. Like I've never really thought of that, but
It's a it's a phenomenon to me because you it's some people are like I don't have the time for it or like I don't have the time or resources to make the dish And then I saw this video, and it was like some like gym video, but it was like this really calming guy. His name is Noel Denzel. Shout out to him again. Uh, so he made this video. He was like, I don't have the time to make a good like protein filled meal or something like that. He was like, well, do you have 7 minutes? Yeah. Do you have protein or beef? I think he said. Yeah. Do you have vegetables? Yeah. Then you can make this. Yeah. It's like it's the same thing because it's you don't wanna. Yeah, that's why I've been trying to get make myself better about because I can do it. I want to do it. I just don't for some reason, and it's just because I want to rest. And it's not resting at that point. It's just at what point does it get to being just lazy?
Um, I can't answer that because I'm a huge procrastinator. I do some of my best work when it's due in an hour. Um, that's not good. Don't learn from me. uh, but no, I know exactly what you're saying.
I feel like procrastinating is part of that. It's just procrastinating is a form of I don't want to say it's a form of brain rot, but it's the time period where most people get that form of brain rot. That's when they zone out, watch cartoons because I don't wanna. Like they just start, you start like doing stuff that turn their brain off, even though they know they have something to do. And I've definitely done a bunch of homework. I've done a project where it's just like a day before, and that's just because it's like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it. Repeat cycle, and that's just the way some things are. It's like you just don't want to do it at that point in time.
Here's a question for you. Do you feel like you're talking about like the negative impact of brain rot, like you're talking about obviously, but what about the other aspect, like over like do you feel like there's a negative impact for an overstimulated brain, like people who don't ever sit and just relax and turn their brain off?
I mean, moderation. You can watch cartoons like in all you want, but it has to be you can't watch cartoons 24/7 365. Same goes for working or like multitasking like 8 things at a time. You can't do that. You're because you could do that for like maybe 5 minutes. I can do that. I can't do that. I can't multitask 8 things, but that's just exaggeration. However, an overstimulated brain, in my opinion, it just never feels good to me. When you're overstimulated and you're always doing something and your brain is always working on something, it fries your brain. It doesn't rot it, it fries it. And it's like what happens when you lift too much weight. Because like you said, it's a muscle. So if you're at the gym and you're like trying to I don't know, you're trying to go for like a new weight class or something, and I want to go for heavy things. So you get this too heavy of a weight and you try to do it and you tear a muscle. It's the same thing for your brain. It just really hurts. It gives you headaches. It's again, it's everything in moderation.
Fair enough.
I think that uh, overstimulation and brain rotting are very similar because both of them you can do and are very popular, but none are good for like really long periods of time. I'd like to hear your thoughts of what it would mean for moderation. If you're going to like a tip for another parent, and instead of how your tips for like how controlled YouTube should be, how controlled and over. I can't think of like an activity that would overstimulate you. I guess like
Well, I think
um
that comes down to pressure. Like I know a lot of people, you put pressure on kids to you've got to get all your homework done, you've got to get this done, you've got to get that done, you've got to be in that spelling bee, you've got to read every night before bed, and to me it's that is the other end of it, um I never really made you read um as like a, oh, you want to play video games where you have to read for an hour, or whatever. But that was mainly because I never wanted reading to be a punishment. I never wanted you to like roll your eyes and be like, oh god, I gotta read. um You
Reading
know,
is really
this
fun. It's like when someone, but it loses the fun when someone tells you what you have to read and when you have to read it.
well, and I mean, I don't. I mean, that's the way everything is with me. Like, you know, I don't. I'm, yeah, I used to skateboard, and that's why that I got paid for like a couple of demonstrations when I was younger, and it's like it took all the fun out of it for me because it became a job. But it's the same thing. Like I think again, moderation. I don't think it's bad to turn your brain off every now and then, just kick back and relax. I it's it's when you do it all the time and you forget how to critically think. In the group that we get together with all the kids, like, one of the things that I always um I had some of the other parents tell me, why what I don't yell stop that, I yell make smart choices. And it's because I think it's more important to teach kids how to think rather than what to think. And I think that's where brain rot really comes in. It says you lose the ability for critical thinking. Like, the world is changing. It's the world that is today is not the world that was 20 years ago, and it's not the world that's going to be 20 years from now. So like there's a ton of skills that you can sit down and tell someone they have to know today, but they're really not going to be relevant in 20 years. I'll just really admit that. I was told when I was in elementary school that what are you going to do if you don't have a calculator? And here we are walking around with like tiny computers in our pockets, like showed you. Um, but understanding how to critically think, that's something that it doesn't matter what the idea is, like there's problem solving all day, every day. And to me, that's where brain rot really comes in. It's you lose the ability to think critically. Like, somebody shouldn't I shouldn't need to tell you how to solve every problem.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's I think that's where, like, when we start talking about like brain rot, I think that's where that comes into. Like when I talk about it's like spoon feeding somebody, you know it's somebody telling you how to solve every problem that you have instead of you being able to step back and say, all right, what's the problem, what do I have to work with, all right, this is how I'm gonna.
Yeah. What's kind of funny is when you yell smart choices now, it means stop doing that. Yeah, we're doing there. We're playing around with like pool sticks, like their stabs and stuff. And you're like, make smart choices. Probably shouldn't do that.
I didn't tell you what you were doing. How do you know I'm talking to you?
Fair point. Uh, yeah, I think it's good sometimes to shut off your brain because that's where like over pressured comes in. Like if you're over pressured, if you have a bunch of deadlines, you should probably get to them. But if you have a bunch of hobbies that you want to do, but they're all intertwining with each other, I feel like brain rot can be good for you, like some sort of like therapy. For some people, because if you're doing something that relaxes your brain when it's working all the time, it just gives it a rest and it gives it time to grow and build strong strength again, like a muscle. Um, so I think it's good for there's positive effects to brain rot. It gives you like maybe a
That's
sense of
not brain rot, that's relaxing. I
yeah,
there that
brain
just
rot can have relaxing
That's
features.
just turning off your brain rot. That's like saying that, like, you know losing that leg is you needed to sit down anyway.
It's still there's gonna be positive effects to brain rot. Like some people like cartoons give a sense of humor to some kids. Like I mean,
See,
it's
I think
whether it's
it's
good or
good to
bad.
turn off your brain, but I think brain rot is in essence the the extreme. It's good to turn off your brain. It's good to relax, but I think brain rot comes from the extreme of that. Just
Huh.
like, anxiety is the extreme of like an overactive brain because you can't ever relax.
See, I don't know if I agree with that because brain rot. I don't know if it's the extreme to me as it is the action of doing it. Because brain rot, there is a way that most brain rot, like cartoons, okay? Brain rot to me is cartoons. So, but cartoons are bad for you. Like they they can be, but that's everything an over stimulant. Like if you overfeed yourself, you're gonna get sick. But just because you feed yourself doesn't mean it's a bad thing. That's just what brain rot to me isn't the extreme of it. It's the action of doing it that can be to the extreme. Which in very many instances that you think about, like that you're thinking of brain rot, nowadays brain rot is put in a very negative connotation, which for a fair
I
point,
mean, it's got the word rot in it.
it's got the word rot in it. But like that's like overstimulant is the same thing. It's got the word overstimulant in it. But if you're overstimulated, it gives you no time to think, which is why I think it's either it gives you no time to think or it gives you too much time to think. Because if you're thinking about all of these places, you have so many scattered thoughts that it's either so scattered that you can't think
Well,
about it or
that's called scatterbrained.
overstimulation. Uh, but that's why I think overstimulation is like similar to brain rot. Because in some instances, it gives you no time to think, but it can also be the opposite of brain rot. It can be too much thinking. It can be like you're so like worked up on yourself. You have so many things going on that you're like, blah blah. I gotta do this. Blah blah. I gotta do that. Blah blah. I gotta do this. And sometimes it just you're it gives you a headache. That's probably why because you're just like blah 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 this blah 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 that in your own brain. So I think overstimulation very very rarely has a positive connotation or any at all. I don't think overstimulation has any positive connotation, or if there is, it's very little. Brain rot, however, there could be good things to come out of brain rot for me. Like I may just be in a little generation where it's like brain rot's the ultimate thing right now because you got TikTok short form content. People are saying it's inducing ADHD and stuff like that. But at the same thought where you're watching a soccer game and talking to your friend is the same thing than having a Peter Griffin clip right here and an AI video right here. It's the same thing. You're doing two things at the same time while stimulating your brain.
Just remember, you can multitask, but you cannot multifocus.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't focus on them both at the same time. So you're focusing on one or the other, but the information's still going in your head. It's just not you don't understand it. So
Mm.
that's where I think that like brain rot, it's been here forever, and I'm not saying there's good conversations to talk about when you're watching a soccer game, but it's still ADHD inducing.
I don't know that I agree with you, but I mean that's why I don't know. That's why part of this is interesting. Is because like you don't have to agree with each other. But yeah, no. I mean, like I said, to me, brain rot is the extreme. So
I think that I don't know if I mean again it's got the word rot in it, but rotting isn't always bad if you think about it. Here, hot
you
take.
see the look
I
on
see
my
the
face.
expression. Let's think of a tree. A tree rots, right?
Yeah,
Goes into the floor, goes into the soil.
it's dead.
It is dead, but it goes back
That's
into
right.
something good.
Yeah. Um, would prefer for that not to happen while you're still alive. Like brain rot. That's I get what you're trying to do there. You're trying real hard.
Now I've thought about what I've said. But so I still don't think that
It's fine.
I don't I get the extreme part of it. I just don't think that it's too extreme for some people.
It's I mean that's the difference. That's the difference between the different generations on this is for I think you guys are a little it's more of a classification than to you guys, like what are you watching? Just a little brain rot. As a for me, like I said, when I hear that, that's instantly negative.
That's fair. Let me ask a
So
question for you. Do you think that showing brain rot to 5-year old, how do you think that would impact them in the rest of their life?
I don't know. You seem all right.
Should have asked my father this.
No, I mean, again, I think it's everything in moderation. I think it's good to learn, sit down, relax, and just kind of, you know, turn your brain off and just enjoy what you're watching.
Yeah.
I think but it is everything in moderation. I think, I don't think TV screens and stuff like that should be babysitters. Um, if you can help it. I mean, there are situations to where I mean I was guilty of it, like trying to clean the house and stuff like that. Turn on something that was going to keep your attention and go do what I'm going to do. I mean, you can't really help it, but again, I think it's doing stuff like that often that creates a challenge, and then it's like I said, it's when you lose the ability to think critically, then that's when I think it's gone too far.
Huh. So here's another level of brain rot we got here. Another type, I guess I should say. There. So people in the modern age, there's a lot of technology going on right now. And like you said, you brought up a really interesting thought. TV shouldn't be babysitters. Now there's a type of kid who's living right now who is glued to their iPad, okay?
We were glued to TV screens when I was kids too, man. I'm Generation X,
Yeah.
and we are the original latchkey kids. And I mean, I think that I think there are some people who have taken it to an extreme, just like there are people in my generation who took it to an extreme. Um, I do think that there's some things that we shouldn't do, like, um, and I try to work on this, but it's getting mad at you for not answering your phone. Um, I can see that creating issues because all I'm really teaching you is, to be, glued to your phone at all times. Like, how can you survive without your phone? It's like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's creating, I think there's some stuff like that because our stuff is so mobile these days. Um, but I mean, as long as, I think as long as people pay attention to what's going on, nothing is inherently bad. I don't think that I don't think having iPads and stuff like that is bad. I mean, I have an iPad and I carry it around with me. I think the inability to be entertained or to, use your brain and use your imagination, stuff like that, without something like that is where it starts getting to an issue. Um, I was super excited about like the D&D club at your school because I mean it's computerized and it's got like online D&D stuff, but that's imagination. Somebody's thinking of the story and the campaign and stuff like that. I don't think anything is inherently bad though.
Yeah. Um, I think I think you're right about the moderation is just the big key topic in this because it's kind of like
No, brain rot's the word.
the key factor in this conversation. Thank you for correcting me, Father. Um,
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist
so final thoughts here. Uh, what would you like to say that you've learned in like brain rot from at least my generation, and how you think it either changed or enlightened your perception of brain rot?
I think it's interesting to think of it as, like I said, more of a categorization and not necessarily a thing. Like I said, it's from my perspective, when I hear that, I think of it, from my parents telling me that, video games are going to rot your brain and blah, blah, blah. You know, I, uh, I don't necessarily agree with you on everything that you said, but I also don't think that we have to agree.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
point of this.
yeah.
I think that I agree. I think the point of this podcast is just to learn from each other. It's we don't even have to like, oh, that makes sense. I agree with that. It's gonna be like, so that's how you think. I feel like
Hmm.
that's the kind of thing. I like the interpretation of the extreme is like Brainrot. I just don't necessarily if that's how I think of it. Uh, I like the difference in what Brainrot means to someone from your words on mine, Generation X, and from a Gen Zer over here. Uh,
Hey, I'm proud to be Generation X, man.
Self-proclaimed Gen Z over here. Uh, and I think that while our internet consumption, at least, because like yeah, I use this in like the afternoon, on the mornings on Saturdays, like watching YouTubers like a YouTube video or something. But for us, it's like when again we're at like something, we're just like scrolling on something. I like the interpretation indifferently that can happen when the level of difference in consumption is different. Well, thank you for coming this fine, jolly afternoon on Christmas Eve. I do not know when this video is going to be posted. Probably not on Christmas because I have to edit this. Thank you for joining me. Um, and remember, the humbug! Cut. Hello, everyone. Just post editor Alex here. Um, I just want to say that I forgot to say it at the end of the video. Um, Please leave a comment down below for our next word. Like and subscribe. I know I already said that. Um, and Patreon in the link below. I'll put that in the description too. Please, it really helps us. And thank you for supporting us in our first few videos. I know it's only two, and this is going to be our third. And we're really excited for the future of DeMolay and Dad. Thank you, and good night.